That's cool. Good. And it was homecoming weekend, right?
Yeah.
How was homecoming?
Homecoming was so
Huh?
Homecoming was so I got all ready. Um, wait, stop. Wait, I have to explain that. I'm explaining homecoming now.
Don't worry.
So,
We're not unveiling it yet.
I got homecoming, I got ready, and then my neighbor came over, my friend came over, and we took pictures, and then we had a nice little dinner, and then we went to homecoming, and then the dance, and this is the best part. So I drove us there. I was so worried about like leaving because I was so afraid that like there's gonna be a whole entire line we wouldn't be able to back up.
Uh-oh. Case frozen, I think. Hey, Dad, we're getting a lot of background on yours again. Are you moving or doing very much, or not really?
I muted the sound.
Okay. Must have been before you muted it. Okay. That room just has an awful lot of echo.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Here I am.
It's nice to see your pretty face.
Oh, thank you. You too. We've missed you the last couple of weeks.
Oh, well, not as much as I miss missing you.
Well, Kathy's been doing all kinds of cool things.
Yeah? What's your POFO then, Kathy?
Well, just like I said, a lot of it's kind of like closing down the summer, kicking off the fall, and just a lot of family stuff and just good things.
Yeah, I saw a couple pics on Facebook that looked pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, yesterday we took my two grandsons fishing, and the oldest one was able to drive the boat, and so just fun stuff, you know.
Nice, yeah.
How about you? How's your house going?
It's coming along. I've got, I could do a quick little tour. I've got the kitchen cabinets in, but this is the office. So there's really not much in here, but new carpet, new flooring, thanks to Dad.
So you got all the carpet and flooring in?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So
Hey, John, go John.
There's the living room. We don't hardly have a TV or a couch, but it's coming. And
Okay.
then behind me is the kitchen.
Oh, how beautiful.
There's Brant. And then there's our front door to the porch.
Oh,
And
what
then
a beautiful house.
it's really fun. It's super cute. And then our master bedroom is here.
Nice.
And there's our big windows out to the back porch.
Great.
So I've got this like you're kind of looking through film, but you can see kind of our backyard, which is rolling hills, and there's hay bales out there for Dad's horses, and the trees are starting to turn.
It doesn't look like it can get any more perfect than that.
No, I don't think so either. I'm loving it.
That's
So
wonderful, Anna.
there's a little sneak peek for us. But yeah.
That's
So
great.
we got the kitchen in, and then my positive focus is that Brant came this weekend, and I kind of put all my junk in the barn, and we completely cleaned up the barn, so all my junk is kind of put away. And then the kitchen, we put all the dishes and stuff in the kitchen, so we had our first dinner together at the new house tonight, like cooked in a stove, and got things out of the refrigerator that's there. So that was exciting. And then there's a bunch of burn piles that needed burned, and so we burnt them, and so we got a lot of good stuff done this weekend. So it was fun. So
Well, progress always feels good, doesn't it?
it does. It
Well,
does.
I
I like the weekends because I don't really plan to get things done so much. So whatever gets done on the weekend, it's just kind of like icing on the cake.
Well, that's great. And your house is beautiful, and I'm so impressed, John, that you got all that carpeting in.
And
Great
it's super
job.
soft. But yeah.
Good.
What about you, Dad? How was your weekend?
I had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time today with the baby and her namesake, Lucille.
Yeah. Okay.
So we enjoyed sitting down, talking about the baby, only I'm getting too much sitting in lately and it's not feeling good.
Yeah. All right.
Dad, you got kind of a sore butt, huh? Is that what's going on?
He's got a pain in the butt, and it's not me.
Caroline, did you hear the story of your grandpa? Because this is my positive focus this week. That we have Grandpa still with us on the call this week. Caroline, did he tell you about his brush with death this week? So Grandpa was in a dump truck accident, going full speed backwards down a big hill. Hannah, how totaled is the dump truck?
It's pretty totaled. Let me see if I can get it in here.
Let's see. Grandpa walked out the actual windshield.
He walked out of the windshield of the dump truck. There it is sideways across the road. And I've got another picture about where he started, which is, I don't know if you're going to be
Hannah,
able
why don't
to
you send those out? Send those out, will you?
I will. This one is the top of the hill, and you can see I've got a load of gravel in the bucket, and you can see those little things down at the bottom is the dump truck. So he went all the way down that hill backwards.
By yourself?
Yeah, he was by
Yep.
himself in the dump truck. So, yeah. And then this one, and I'll send it over. But this is, I was on top of the hill looking down on him, and there's Jeffrey and Dad looking at a piece of paper Jeffrey had in his pocket of a new dump truck he wants to buy.
That was quick.
Brant thinks it's funny because when I was telling him, when he said, "How's the truck?" I kind of like spilled its engine out all over the road, which apparently isn't right. Guess you can't spill the engine. That's what it looked like to me. So yeah, Dad was a cowboy.
So, Caroline, imagine this. You get to the top of a really, really large hill, and all of a sudden the truck dies. You can't steer very well, and you have no brakes. And you're in a big dump truck full of gravel. How many tons of gravel? 2 tons of gravel. So you have a good amount of weight, and you're going backwards down a hill. That was your grandpa this week.
What do you do?
Yeah.
He
Good
put
thing
that
he's
thing.
a futuristic maximizer, otherwise. Whoop. Ah, you had to think ahead and maximize that situation, huh?
jump out of it?
No, you didn't jump out, did you, Dad? What'd you do?
Could you?
You're still muted.
I think you're muted.
Okay, it took about 10 to 15 minutes for me to get from my sitting position in the truck to outside, and that's after they tore the front windshield out of the truck.
Mm.
Were you scared?
No, I was not scared. I was very grateful.
Mm.
Number one, to be alive, but I've been paying a lot of penance for my sins with the pain that I have incurred, because last night we were trying to put ice on the places that hurt the most, one of them being my tailbone, and we found a big black spot, and my wife, being the humorist that she is, says it looks like I hadn't wiped in a while, because it was kind of dark and brown.
Oh, that's great.
Just being funny, I'm sure.
So what's the truth?
You just had a big bruise on your tailbone?
Big one, and it hurts very badly.
Oh.
Ugh.
Not to count my back, and especially my bum shoulder that I was having trouble just raising my arm anyway. Now I think I landed on it and my tailbone. So now I've got issues with both, and I am moving quite slowly these days.
Are you
Well,
okay?
it's going to give you slowing down is going to give you a lot of time to think and contemplate and plan, little introspection.
It gives you a lot of time to understand how grateful you need to be. I was talking with my nephew today, and he was talking to one of his church friends who happened to be on the scene shortly after it happened. And he said he was just absolutely amazed that I was able to walk away from it.
Mm.
And the more you think about it, that's pretty
Yeah.
close to being right.
Yeah.
Did you go
Yeah.
to a doctor?
God's still got work for you to do, John. He's still
Not
got
for-
a plan for you.
Yes, that's exactly
Yeah,
right. That's what I was telling my second mother today, that when I took the baby up to see her. I said, you know, there had to be some reason that I'm still here.
And
You know.
maybe more than one.
Maybe. Yeah, I may have to straighten Fritz and Anna out.
Well, that's for sure.
Whatever.
All right. So, Kay, what is your positive focus? And we're having trouble hearing you.
Hold on.
Me?
Yeah.
My positive focus was homecoming this weekend.
Hey, Dad, mute yourself again, will you? All right. Sorry, Kate. Yeah.
Okay. My positive focus was homecoming this weekend. It was fun. Yeah.
Right on. Sounds good. So tell us how do we think about Covey this week?
I like listening to him. He has such a nice voice. I just,
He-
I don't know.
He's like a supersized Buddha, isn't he?
I don't know. He's just nice to listen to.
Like Yoda, no hair, a
Yeah,
little
but
Yoda you and I like in his head.
he's gonna tonight. I'm gonna just turn on the video and fall asleep to it.
I know what you mean. I sped it up. You can speed him up. If you put him on like 2 times, then he talks about like this, and you can really keep up with him. Otherwise, he kind of sounds like a priest, and he puts you to sleep.
I mean, I still liked it.
I know what you meant.
But, yeah.
So any takeaways from it?
Well, yeah. Live your life by a compass, not a clock. Which means you have a clear sense of vision and purpose for the future, and principle-based values to live by.
You know, Stephen would always say that, like, in his 7 habits, he would say he would lead from the right side of the brain and manage from the left. And he'd say life is a balance of the clock and the compass, right? Clock being management, compass being leadership.
So which one's better to have, the compass and leadership?
We need both, right? You have to have a whole mind. But just to differentiate the two, right? So he was asking about the compass and true north, right? And he was saying true north had to do with what? Certain thing that he talks a lot about, like principles, right?
Principles, yeah.
So principles never change, right? We all change. What Stephen always tries to say is that you live a principle-based life. So if you put one thing at the core of your life, you have to be really careful about what you actually put at the core. If you put your career at the core, something happens to your career, now guess what? Everything is thrown out of whack, right?
Yeah.
Say you are completely and totally, like at the very core is your spouse. And for some reason, something happens to that relationship. Now all of a sudden, you're completely and totally, like it shakes you to the very, very, very core, obviously, because like that's what you built everything upon, right?
Yeah.
He's a big
A lot of
proponent
Christians try to be God-centered.
which theoretically is more in the sense of principles, things that are timeless, that you don't change. Like those things don't change. They're not going to change 3 weeks from now. Like it's not a career. It's not like like children focused. Like children will go through all kinds of changes. That's not like a changeless core. So he always would say kind of we base that up on there. So like when you talk about true north, he's talking about values, right?
Yeah.
And then he talked about the clock being kind of managing. So like it was kind of what's the second habit and then what's the third habit? You remember?
The begin with the end in mind and first things first.
So which one's the clock, which one's the compass?
First things first is the clock. Begin with the end in mind is the compass.
Yep.
Does that make sense to you?
I think so.
Begin with the end in mind. In other words, you have to know where you want to go. That's why you need a compass. And then how you're going to get there, that's just managing how you're going to actually get there. That's putting first things first.
So you have to have the compass first.
So the compass is more important.
That's why you started with a mission. You were putting down your values, your principles, your core things. And then once you had your mission, you could take all your daily tasks and figure out which one of these things are going to help my mission rather than just take up my time. And those are the putting the first things first. Take your tasks. So like on a daily basis, it would be you've got your mission. That's your begin with the end in mind, and then you've got your tasks for the day, and you figure out which ones help the mission.
There's a story that Stephen uses a lot of time for management and leadership, and like right and left side of the brain, and like habit 2 and 3, all of them are synonymous, all of them the same thing. About like the guy in the forest cutting down trees. Anybody remember the story of guys in the forest cutting down trees? You remember that one, Kay?
Yes.
How's it go?
Oh goodness. The guy weren't there 2 guys?
Yep.
And one guy goes back to sharpen his saw so that way he can be more effective, and the other guy's like, well, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just stay and keep working so you can cut more down? But then in the long run, the guy who sharpened his saw and then came back to cut down the rest of the trees got more because it was more effective than the one who used a dull saw.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely 100% true. Now that's habit, which one? You remember?
7.
That's exactly right. That's habit 7. So for 2 and 3, there's a different forest story. I guess he has 2. I forgot about that one, but you're exactly 100% right. There's another forest one where like there's a guy who climbs to the very top of the trees, and they're clearing out a forest, and he screams down, "Hey!" Like like he's got a whole crew down there. Everybody's working. Like he's got the managers there, like sharpening saws with all the people. They're going to workshop on how you can cut down trees better. He has, like they have it all mapped out. They're doing it, like everybody's sleeping in shifts. They're going through positive reinforcement seminars. Everything's going great down there. They're chopping away. The leader goes to the top and yells down, "Wrong forest." And the manager yells to the top, "Shut up, we're making progress." Right? Which one comes first, the clock or the compass? They had the clock worked out there, right? Management was doing their job. They were doing great. The leader needed to change directions, right? We're going the wrong way. We're pointed the wrong direction. We may even be in the wrong spot altogether.
That's like climbing a ladder and it be leaning against the wrong wall.
Yep. You want to work out. You want to be able to climb that ladder. You want to be able to be perfect doing that. Like that's the clock. Right? That's all managing.
Mm-hmm.
So first is kind of like Anna was saying, kind of your mission statement, a little bit of that. Now he talks a little bit about mission statements, especially when it comes to kind of cramming. And also cramming kind of fits in a little bit when it comes to procrastination. That's why I chose this one. What did you think about that? What's Stephen say about cramming?
I'm not in college yet, so
You will be. That was a freshman address, So how many years are you off from that?
2.
2.
We caught you in a nick of time. So what do you say about cramming?
It's not good. Don't do it.
What about cramming on the farm?
You can't do it. The law of harvest. You can't cram, otherwise it doesn't work. You have to put in the time and effort if you want to get the good grades. Mm-hmm. Which, technically, cramming, you put in time and effort, and you can still get the grades, and it just works, because you put in the same amount of time, it's just, you cram it all in one spot. So...
Which one makes it stick after that?
Yeah, which one actually...
It depends on how you work and how you learn. See, some people learn best because they can take it into little sections and break it down and reinforce that and then move on. And some people learn best if they just get all the information at once and can just learn it all there on the spot, and then like, boom, done, got it.
So which way do you learn best, Kay?
Not the cramming way.
So I thought this was kind of interesting, Kay, like this whole cramming and natural laws,
Mm-hmm.
especially when he puts it in terms of like the farm, right? Because the farm, it doesn't make any sense, right? You're not able to do everything at once.
Yeah.
And I noticed this in medical school too. You can cram a little bit here and a little bit there, and like it'll work a little bit, but unless you're building off of other stuff after a little while, there's too much to cram. Like you can't theoretically cram that much stuff in your head at once. You have to come from a background of actually knowing at least something. You can't cram all of it in. And me personally, whenever I would cram, I couldn't put it all in my head, everything. It was only after I could be able to connect a few dots and then have a few extra things to connect up, then it all made sense, right? Then I didn't need to relearn everything.
Right.
That took a little bit each day, but I didn't ever have to cram at the end because it was just a little each day. Now, so that
And
was
at the
theoretically
end,
not.
it wasn't hard because you were just like, oh yeah, I get it. So you didn't have to go, oh, I don't understand, didn't have to worry because you're like, I don't even have to take notes. I understand what he's talking about because I understand what came before this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to homework or project, maybe you're learning the whole time and maybe you finish the project the last day. I wouldn't consider that procrastinating.
No.
The project, yeah, you're learning as you go, right?
Yeah.
So, everybody know like Frank Lloyd Wright? Anybody know who Frank Lloyd Wright is? Kathy does. So he's a really famous architect from Chicago, Wisconsin area. And one of his greatest pieces is called Falling Rock. And he completely designed it at the last second while the guy who was coming over for the plan had already landed in Milwaukee and was coming over to his house. And he told him for months that like, oh yeah, I'm working on it. Oh yeah, I got it, no problem. Like he landed there, he called him, hey, you got everything all set? I just landed, I'm on my way over, it'll be about an hour and a half and I'll be there. And this is like one of his best works. And he was like, no problem, like CJ, just come on over. I've got it all ready for you. And at the time, like he was an apprentice for a lot of people. Like he had a lot of apprentices everywhere. Like they were all over the place. So like they all knew that he he hadn't even started the sketches for this. And this was a really large commission job. Like this was his biggest work of the whole year. He literally sat down and drew out the entire thing. He'd been baking in his head, visualizing it the whole time. So it just flowed all right out of him. Now, other people could say that he had procrastinated the whole time, and oh, isn't that horrible? Maybe he didn't procrastinate at all.
Well, yeah, it's different.
Oh.
So maybe procrastinating in that sense isn't all that bad. Just an alternative way of looking at it. Because I don't think that didn't serve him to have plenty of extra time. He could have done 10 different drafts, right? And then the last draft be the last draft. He just kept all the drafts in his brain the whole time. So I think you're right, Kate. I think just doing it the way you want to do it is the best way. But you have to learn which way you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which way works best for you?
Dad, did you ever cram in school?
You're on mute, but I read your lips and you said all the time.
And Kay, I never did that well because of cramming. I think you could get it all in your mind and get most of it down at the test, but it didn't stay with you as well in the long run.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that I necessarily cram. Cause it's not like I have 10 things that I have to do, and so like I cram it all in. And I give like 5 minutes for each thing, and I have to cram it in and do a crappy job. That's what I think of when I think of cramming. I mean, I get how cramming is part of procrastination, but I feel like I just like I do stuff. I just leave the stuff that I don't want to do until like the end. So then like I guess I sort of cram it, but I'm more like procrastinating.
So let's do a different thing. Rather than cramming for school, let's say that you were working out with a goal in mind. Like Anna, you're running right now, so you can run with Claire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If Anna waited the day before and then just crammed, in other words, she ran, instead of running a mile a day for 20 days, ran 20 miles the day before. How would Anna feel the next day now that she's prepared for Claire's running?
Oh, yeah.
Sick.
I'm ready.
Oh my god. Did you really run 20 miles the day before?
No, I'm just, last year, I knew it was coming, and then about like 3 weeks before, I was like, oh crap, I need to figure out how to run for like 3 weeks, figure out how to run 5K in 3 weeks. And Claire beat me. She just dumped me. Like, I couldn't keep up with her. I tried, but she kind of had to go slow, kind of. So I don't want to have her do that again.
I'm surprised she still asked you.
I know, I am too. So when she asked me again, I'm like, okay, rematch. She's got faith in me. Brant went and ran with me this morning because I didn't run yesterday.
Okay.
But
do you notice what the title of like Covey's book is? Like his most famous book?
7 Habits?
Habits. Right? Like we talked a ton this year about habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
A ton. Isn't it interesting how all these things are connecting in kind of a way? Like, what do you have to have in order to be able to do, like, if you want to do 50 push-ups, you won't be able to mentally visualize actually being able to do 50 push-ups and then sit down and do them, likely.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do the work. It's a natural law. You have to have the habit.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it again and again and again. It just has to be a habit. Kathy, what do you think about kind of the cramming, natural laws, all this kind of stuff?
Well, just based on your last comment, I'm thinking about Jim Rohn's quote about the miracle of the seed in the soil. It's not available by affirmation, but only by labor. And so we need consistency in our habits, in the labor. And when I think about the times in my life that I've crammed, and even when I'll procrastinate and back myself up into a corner and then have to, jockey my way out of there. Then with learning, I think what's happened to me is I've lost the joy of learning in that situation, and then I've put this pressure on myself and increased my stress. And so I get through the presentation, or test, or whatever it is, and then I'm hollow on the other side. So for me, but I think, like Kay was saying, and you were saying, that everybody learns differently. So I do think the style of your learning is paramount, and yet I don't see a whole lot of benefits to cramming other than getting a quick A myself. Long term, I'm saying.
100%. I agree. 100%. Like, because literally, like, the most challenging things that I kind of notice out of things like that is usually, at least when I was in school, I could get away with it, and that was the worst thing that could have happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The worst thing that could have happened is I actually get away with it because it didn't
Mm-hmm.
teach better habits.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, whew, got through that one. Huh, I
Yeah.
could probably cut it a little closer next time.
Yeah, that's what it teaches you.
I think I studied too much for that one. That is the worst thing you should ever say. Like, I found myself saying that every now and then. It was horrible. That was a stupid thing to say. The fact that, no, I didn't need to study as much as I did. Like, that was that was with an outcome of only getting a GPA or whatever like that, not to the outcome of learning or what you would actually do with it later on at all.
Yeah.
Wait, is there a way, like, are there online tests that tell you how you learn? Because, like, I know there are ones for, like visual, aesthetic, and auditory learners. Like, I know that, but is there one that people do, like, will tell you about how you learn?
I've heard of that one, Kay. I'm not sure about the others. Like which way you learn best and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, best study habits for your personality or whatever. Something.
I don't know of any. If I were to guess, there probably are. I just haven't heard of a bunch of them. I think it's one of those things where, like, the Socrates type thing, kind of know thyself. You have to be experimental and try different things, and then just which one works best for you. Mornings, evenings, like just all the different type things. Like, what works best for you? If it's complete and total immersion, non-immersion, that kind of stuff.
You know, yeah, I was just gonna say I think that's a good point in every area. What works best for you? Like some people, it works best to exercise in the evening versus in the morning. Yet when you read most things, it says, oh, the best thing to do is exercise in the morning. But if your schedule or your body type, or not type, but your body physiology works better for you to do it at another time. So, yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong or best or. But you know what I'm also thinking about. Remember when he talked about defining when we define ourselves externally versus our own self-identity.
Yeah.
And I look back. I went back to college when I was your age, Kay. I was like too cool to study. You know, I had other things goofing off to do. You know, so I ended up going back to school when I was 40 or 42 after my kids had graduated, and at that time I was really interested, and so I would. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this to illustrate something. So I graduated with high honors from college. However, because that involved a lot of cramming to get to that GPA, when I graduated, even with all those ribbons and all that hocus pocus, it was really an external focus, and internally my self-identity was low. I didn't feel confident about myself, but on the outside, oh, I looked really great. And I think a lot of that goes back because I realized I didn't know everything I needed to know because of the cramming I did.
Huh. That is a really cool insight, Kathy. I've got one friend in college that I had. She was always pretty insecure, like, and I knew that because she was my friend. And she was really insecure, but she was also Miss Indiana. She was also FFA state officer. She had all these high awards and things like that. So I wonder if she was trying to, if she was more externally focused than internally focused, because I just never understood why she could always
Mm-hmm.
portray this, Miss Indiana and all these other things, and she just really was not confident about anything she did,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I've and like Tony will talk a lot about like for like things if you're very competitive and
Mm-hmm.
everything is you versus either someone, other groups, whatever. Like if you're constantly comparing, that's an external type model. So like at that
Mm-hmm.
point, you're like, what internal security does that actually give you? Like there's always going to be somebody like think if you're Billy the Kid. You know who Billy the Kid was, Kay? He was the fastest gunslinger in the West. Okay? He could pull his gun out and shoot someone faster than anyone else. What kind of a lifestyle would that be to live? He's famous, but everybody who thinks that they're fast with a gun is constantly wanting to challenge him so that they can be the fastest gunslinger in the West. How do you sleep at night with that kind of crap? Like, think about that. That's a really bad lifestyle. Like, if you're going after that sort of significance, like, even like like basketball players, like really great basketball players, like if they don't win, like it tears them apart. Like they've centered their life upon something of a comparative model. You're never like it's unlikely that you're going to be the best at everything all the time. And at that point, like even then, like you want to do it academically, now you have to be right all the time. You're not going to be right all the time. Like you need to fail your way to success a lot of the time anyway. So you're not going to look good the whole time doing it. It's a crappy model. Like you just can't like it's like remember habits 1, 2, and 3 versus 4, 5, and 6, right? Like 1 is private victories, right? First 3 all private victories. Second 3 public. Those are public only after private. You have to work on yourself and your independence first before you ever think about like the whole concept of interdependence and we. Like versus dependency, like Grandpa was saying last week, like dependency, like a child being dependent on a mother. And this can continue on. Like we didn't even go into that. Like literally, like say you're dependent, you go to college, you're still dependent on your parents to give you money, and all of a sudden you meet your husband right there. You become dependent upon him for his income, and you continue on. You never actually achieved independence, much less interdependence. That's extremely common. Like you never actually made it to independence, therefore no inter. Make sense? Like you don't like catapult over to inter just because you're in that relationship. It's not how it works. You have to go through independence first. So like it's an interesting kind of progression that you kind of have to kind of go through. But it's first like self and knowing like that you are okay regardless of whatever else happens. It doesn't make any difference. Like that doesn't define you.
Right.
So is it better is it better to try to learn something and get a bad grade, or to get a good grade and sort of learn it, but try to learn it, but okay, is it better to learn it and get a good grade? Is it better to learn and understand it and get a bad grade?
Caroline, always with your mother and Katie, and then it followed down with the others. I'd always tell them, just try to learn as much as you can, understand as much as you can, and don't worry about the grades. In the long run, you'll come further ahead.
So then why is that the only thing colleges have to base on? Because like all colleges base things on like your grades and your SAT scores.
Well, and your SAT is supposedly what you have learned. So it's a test that kind of tells them if you've been paying attention. The GPA can be kind of cheated with, cramming, but the SAT can't really be cheated because you had to have learned all that to do the test.
So like you understand, like literally, like I was dyslexic, right? So SAT had 2 sections, math and then verbal, right?
Mhm.
I couldn't get answers off of anybody off the verbal part, right? I couldn't have people help me out with the verbal part like I'd always been able to do before. I would always wheel and deal and I'd be able to get answers to the other part. I always shortcut. Wasn't able to actually do the work. That shows up on tests like that. My math score, I think, was almost double my verbal score. My verbal score was so low, it kept me from getting into medical school for a whole year.
So what did you get on your ACT score?
SAT, I don't remember exactly. I just remember that like I got a very, very, very high math score because I understood how to do that. But verbal, it was horrible. It's horrible.
Do you have to speak for these tests?
No. You didn't have to speak. If I had to speak, that'd be perfect. I had to read and comprehend something.
Oh, that part. Oh.
Yeah.
That's the SAT. I'm not sure if they have you do the SAT or the ACT.
It's up to us. We can do whichever one we want. Colleges only take one.
Okay. Well, but in any event, Kay, like it's what, like for that, I think a little bit of the answer is what is your outcome? Like, what are you taking the classes for anyway? Like,
well, I don't even know why. I just wanted to take it, so I've eliminated this as my career option though, which is a good thing.
What's that? Which one?
Physics. Like last year honors physics, loved it. It was so great. Had an A overall. It was just like the best class ever. This year taking AP physics, which is my first AP class. First of all, it's physics, and we have to do like a chapter a week, which includes the notes, all of the problems, a lab, and a test in 5 school days. And it is so difficult. It's literally the hardest class ever. And Mom keeps telling me, she's like, Caroline, I don't expect you to get an A in this. And I'm like, Mom, I understand, but it's frustrating. It's so frustrating to me. That's why I'm trying to think, because I know I need to learn it, but I just don't know.
You know what John Kennedy said when they said, why are we going to go to the moon?
No.
He said we do it because it's hard, not because it's easy. Daniel Burnham, who redid Chicago, is like small dreams never ignite anything within a guy's soul. They have to be big, hairy, audacious craziness. That's what actually like really stirs the pot and makes you really want to do it. Are you really going to let a class that's difficult make it to where you think that you don't want to do any physics?
Yeah.
Really?
It's not the class that's hard, it's the physics that's hard.
Maybe it's taught in a way that you don't like it.
No. I have the same teacher as last year. I love this teacher, and I like this year it's taught a little bit differently, and it's at a really, really fast pace, which I don't like, but it's just hard.
Well, if it was at a slower pace and there was more one-on-one, do you think that you would enjoy it more or still really not like it?
I think I'd enjoy it more. Like I've gone in where it's just been one-on-one and had her reteach me like everything and like these problems on the board, and like I get it more and I feel more comfortable like asking questions, because I feel like I'm gonna ask a question, it's gonna be like a stupid question, and everybody's gonna be like,
no,
duh, because like I have 10 million questions, and so like I'd just take up the whole class period asking questions, so I just come in and it's just hard.
But that seems to help, but it's just difficult.
Yeah, it helps, but it's still hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't come as easy for me this year.
Sometimes sometimes you appreciate things if you have to work harder for them.
Okay, you want to go after things that you really enjoy, regardless of how long it takes you to actually learn them. Because if you really want to learn them, you'll learn them when you're not in class as well.
Yeah.
Because you'll spend your free time on it, and eventually you will beat them. You will actually learn more than everyone else. You will. To be an expert, you have to have 10,000 hours, right? That's a lot of time. You're not spending that much time actually in school, in all of high school. You're not going to spend 10,000 hours. That's in one subject you're set to spend 10,000 hours. How many subjects are you going to spend dividing your effort in that amount of time? You're not going to be an expert, and you're not going to know exactly what you like out of it. You're just supposed to pluck out some things that you might enjoy. Okay, what else did you get out of Covey? Anything else out of this one?
Oh, well, in the end, transitioning into that second video with the Indian talking stick, always listen first until the other person feels understood. And then you can until you can restate what they're saying so that they agree.
So what you're saying, Caroline, is that whoever has the stick gets to keep the stick until she feels like everybody understands her point of view.
Well done, Anna. Did you notice how Anna applied that, Kay?
You have the talk. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So, Kay, did you notice how Anna applied that concept and what she just said to you?
I don't know. Yes.
So usually, she restated what you had just said.
Yeah.
And made you realize that how much she actually understood what you just said, and you confirmed that her understanding was exactly correct. So usually this works really well whenever there's kind of an argument that breaks out. I can give an example if you'd like. Last week in our leadership meeting, the rest of the team thought that there's what they call an elephant in the room, okay? Which basically means that there's something that that's on everybody's mind, but they don't want to talk about it. Okay, it's terribly unhealthy for a team. Nobody wants to do that. That's a really bad idea. The elephant in the room was that one of the companies that we have isn't doing very well. And they think that maybe we need to start a different website and put more effort toward a different website than this one, the one we currently are. Because they think Google has it has a penalty against it, and it won't let it show up in the search results, and it's probably helpless and it's not going to work. So
that company's dying.
This one, they think it's kind of held under Google's thumb. It won't Google won't let them rank. It's it's dying. It's being held down, and we could put our effort somewhere else and it'd be better. But I don't want to talk about it because Fritz is personally attached to this site, and I don't want to bring it up because it'll piss him off. That's kind of the thought behind it. So David let me know that this was going on. So I brought it up and I was like, all right, guys, this is what I understand. I understand this is kind of perhaps a perception. like, I want to know from all of you, like, how you feel about this. Like, I kind of explained that it wasn't a jugular issue for me. I wouldn't be against that kind of thing. It's completely cool. I want everybody to air out why they think that this might be a really good option. Give them a creative space to do it. So everybody kind of said, like, for example, like Charlotte. You've met Charlotte before, okay? She would say, like, I feel like, like, we have been under the thumb of Google for over a year now. Like, whatever we're doing, it's not working out. I put a ton of effort toward it. It's not working. I think starting something new is a really good idea, and we could be just wasting time. And then David was talking about a little bit, Chris was talking about a little bit, but like I kind of restated everything that they'd done afterwards. I'm like, just so I kind of like fully understand. And this was all like Indian talking stick type thing. Like, this is what you're saying, Charlotte. I'm catching that, like, you feel like that one's dying, and it's because Google has us under an algorithm penalty, and we don't know how to get out of it.
But why does Google have you under something penalty?
Well, see, like, now, that one in particular, like, the reason that Google doesn't like us is they'll put little filters. So what we did, like 2 years ago, we tried to like strategically kind of optimize Google's algorithm. So we were cheating to get good grades. We were cramming.
And
How'd that work out for you?
Google figured out that you did that, so then they penalized you?
They found out, they got real angry, and they're like, you know what? Enough with that. Now you guys don't get to hang out at all on the first page.
Yeah.
So they filtered us out of the results. They usually rerun a filter about once a year. So we have since done an atonement for our sins and whatever, but they have to also like do a refilter in order for us to pop back up where we should go. But what we were doing was essentially cramming. We weren't the newest to market. We didn't do the very best in the way of producing good quality content that everybody wanted to read. So what we did is usually like you needed to have a lot of links. In other words, websites that link to your website showing that you're very relevant. So Google used that as like a measurement for what they should put in what order. If you had 10,000 sites linking back to you, you must be really important.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked until they realized that we were paying for all of those links. In other words, we were hacking their algorithm.
Oh.
See, so in a sense, we're cramming. So what we've done over the last year has not been cramming. We've been producing good quality content so that when we get passed through the filter, we pop back up to where we should be.
Okay.
So it's actually directly related to what we've been talking about all day today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was cramming, and then you realize that you can't cram. You can't shortcut. You weren't doing the right thing. We can't do that anymore. But again, when you cram and you get positive reinforcement, it's really hard to stop that, right? Because when we did it, it worked.
Right to the top when you cram.
And it worked really well. I mean, it worked gloriously. We didn't have to market. We didn't have to do anything. There were 100,000 people coming to the website every week. We didn't even have to close that many people and still make a lot of money. But the chickens always come home to roost. They always do, Kay. Always. You always get caught. You never get away with it for very long. So that's also why you have to have a team that has reformed core values. So that's why we needed to rebuild the team this year.
Yeah.
So what happened when you're having this team conversation? Were you able to resolve it in that one Conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in that one conversation, like literally, like I listened to everybody, like I kind of caught all of their stuff, and like luckily I had just gone to the conference in Inbound, and they talked a lot about search engine optimization, which is what we were talking about there. And I'm like, so I understand kind of everybody's thoughts, and that's a real big problem. And I've been kind of working on that. So this is what I learned this last week, and I'm not sure that it's correct, but like Google runs a filter usually every 3 to 6 months. It's been over a year. They're expecting it at any time. Nobody knows when it'll be. We don't know for sure whether it'll actually pop up whenever they do a refilter anyway, but we're pretty sure. So it's very much like, so, Kay, what I'm talking to them about this week, we have our CNI report, right? Constant and never-ending improvement. So my CNI report, which I only get to do once a month because each person does one each meeting. And we only have one weekly meeting, right? So it's been 5 weeks since I've done it. 5 people on the leadership team. I'm doing it all about habit one. It's all about being proactive, being responsible. Can we control what Google does to us? No. Can we, between stimulus and response, there's a space, right? But the space between those, we can completely do. What can we do? We can create great content. We can give them every reason to love us again. And in the meantime, all those things that we're doing are helpful to us anyway. So we can complain about like all the things that we can't control, right? But didn't Stephen talk to us last week about like that, just not like that, you're just playing a victim.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't help us out at all.
Right.
So like what can we control? We can control what we put out there. We can control how we email market. We can control a lot of things. So until all of that's perfect, we're not going to do anything else. We're not going to worry about any of the other stuff we can't control, right? Circle of influence, circus of control, both of them are going to expand. So our influence will increase as we are able to control more and more. So focusing just on what you can actually make a change in. Anyway, I went kind of off topic on that one. Dad, what did you think on anything you wanted to talk about from Stephen? Covered it? We can't hear you. I can't hear you, man.
Well, I said no.
Got you that time. All right, excellent. Kathy.
Well, yeah, that whole stick thing, you know, as I'm listening to that, I'm thinking this is pretty powerful. And the timing of it, I'll share an example too, was perfect because yesterday with my 2 wonderful grandchildren and my husband and a girlfriend out on this boat, how can I put this without first let me say this. My husband's a wonderful, great guy, really kind-hearted, good giving, and he chose to engage in a behavior that was a complete violation of my values, and I was horrified on this boat. It happened in front of the grandchildren, and it was like I couldn't even believe it was him, and I was furious. And when I called him on it, he just escalated, ignored me. I mean, it was not good. So anyway, we have to go to a birthday party, blah, blah, blah. So we had a lot of cold silence for about 6-8 hours. And so anyway, today, I re-listened about the stick. I thought, okay, we're going to do this because I'm still furious and ready to kill him. So I tried to explain this to him simply how this works, and so I put the topic on the table, and you would have thought that I was speaking English and he was speaking Spanish. I mean, it was it was terrible. So I would reflect back. Everything I reflected back was wrong. So, I mean, who knows whose issue it is. And the scope of the problem became wider and wider and wider. And then I would reflect back on the focus, what I thought was the focus. And this went on, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes or an hour. And I was even more ready to kill him. You know what I mean? And he's looking at me. I mean, it was just terrible. So anyway, we ended up, my husband came to the conclusion this whole thing doesn't work. That was great. And then I came to the conclusion that we just can't resolve this. And so he says, bottom line, what do you want me to do? And I said, you know what? You know what needs to be done. And when you're ready, all that other kind of stuff. So it was, and so I left that conversation thinking that it takes skill and practice to engage in it. Okay? So I thought, okay, I need to get a better handle on this, so to say, blah, blah, blah. Well, while I'm reviewing all this and thinking, oh, I was still very frustrated, he went outside, unbeknownst to me, got in his car, and he called this person and apologized. So, which in my mind was a resolution. He has not yet apologized to me, which is the second part of it. But anyway, the point I'm making is that perhaps we had two totally different outcomes using the same stick. Do you know what I mean? You had great results immediately. When my husband and I engaged in it, we did not, and yet 10 minutes later, there was progress. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's a reflection of our, need to learn how to better communicate. I don't know, but that was my experience. So I'm open to thoughts.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Kathy. Because literally, I can give you an experience share. Ginny and I very commonly, because she's a very empathetic, as you guys know,
Mm-hmm.
very harmonious person. Those are her strengths, right? Those are not my strengths. Those are the opposite of my strengths.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, it's very, very hard. So, it's common that, those things, while they, I found for me, the Indian talking stick works least for Jenny and I than it does for almost every other area.
Is it because you're analytical?
Maybe. I don't know.
For
example, I can tell you this one and you can stay tuned because I haven't even brought this one up to Jenny yet. But you sent over, I have my forum in EO. So, it's a group of people who are entrepreneurs. One of the people in the group she's just not very, she just is kind of weird. And she makes people a little uneasy, And Ginny's met her and she doesn't like her.
Okay.
I understand. She's an acquired taste. And frankly, it's a forum. There's 6 people in it. Some people I'm closer to than others. But, there are certain things that, it's a very tight-knit forum to where, you communicate a lot of stuff. There's rules associated with the forum. One of these, which is most relevant right now, is that you go on a retreat every year.
Mm.
And Ginny's I hope you, know that I don't like it when you, I don't want you to kind of travel with her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one might have to get resolved somehow because, if I miss retreat, which involves travel, I can't stay in the forums.
Mm.
And the forums, very important to me.
Right. But if you go, then that's going to be a violation of Jenny's trust.
So what we need is a third alternative, right? Which is another one of Covey's books and stuff like that. So it's
yeah.
What my attempt will be is I'll tell her about I'll listen to her about everything. Like I can try to kind of get to the bottom of kind of how she's feeling about that, restate it to her satisfaction, then kind of explain like forum's important to me. Like I can't remain in forum if I, like don't go. Whoa, like how can we come up with something that'll work? Like
Because once you understand what exactly about traveling with this weirdo is bothering her, then you can figure out how to get around that.
Yep.
But wait a minute, it sounds to me like you already have your mind made up that you are going, but the mission here is to move her so that it's acceptable.
I would be very open to like I'm open to any alternatives. Like it's one of the things like
that still has a win for you.
like it needs to be a win-win for both sides. Like both sides need to feel good about it. It doesn't need to be like it's not really. It doesn't have to be a compromise. Like if people, like I feel like if people actually like are able to communicate very clearly on like this is really important to me. Like if you'd like, I can, like let's throw out all the alternatives and let's start to get creative. Let's do 1 + 1 = 3 or 4 or 5. Like let's see if we can synergize on this challenge. Like completely cool. Like let's come up with another alternative that'll actually make it to where both of us will feel good about the outcome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be standing tuned for that one.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll see how this works out. Who knows?
You know what? You know why I'm saying that? Because on both her side and your side, it sounds like a value issue. It's not. It sounds like there's not a shared value there, and when there's not a shared value, that I'm standing by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true. Because if it goes to the core, then it's a core issue. It's like a lot of times I'll like say, okay, do I want to argue about this because I know it's a 10 for him and what's a 10 for this other person, so it's a mute point. I'm not even going to argue about it. But let's say it's core value, that would be a 10 for each person, and then that's I think when it is rough to do the walking stick. I think that would be rough because I think I do the walking stick type of thing quite a bit to try to understand what other people are trying to say, but it's never anything that's extremely moral or where we have different values.
Can understanding
Usually it's we both have the same outcome, we're just looking at it differently.
Can other people can different people like understand people with the walking stick better than others? Like, okay, so like if Anna had the walking stick and I was trying to understand her and Grandpa was trying to understand her also, would it be possible that I could understand her better and Grandpa could understand her, or vice versa, just depending on how you look at it or whatever?
Yeah.
That's kind of what we do on these calls, because I may understand different parts of Kathy's situation and somebody else may not relate to it. But it might spark something in somebody else because everybody does kind of get things. So yeah, I think so.
It's one of the, like it's I think it's really important kind of what Covey was kind of saying about like it gives like kind of air to the soul, so to speak, like people really want to feel understood.
Yeah.
And it makes them very open. So if you can just, and this is a challenge for me, shut up long enough for them to say everything that they want to actually say and be able to actually like fully understand what they're actually saying. They're completely and totally now open because they know that they're fully understood. Now I'm completely understood. He completely gets what I just said. So now I'm willing at least to open up to his maybe way of thinking and think about how we can actually work this together.
Yeah.
But if I don't feel understood, then how understanding am I going to be if he's trying to tell me about it? Not at all. I'm closed off. He's an asshole.
Yeah. And he doesn't think I'm valuable enough to listen to what I've got to say, so I'm completely disempowered and on the defense.
Yep.
So nothing gets done there.
No. It's very common to have that kind of thing, but
Well, I'm eager, really eager for you to have this conversation with her so I can see the outcome. Because,
I'm not.
well, I know, but I mean, see, I would see, and this is my own limited thinking, but I'm stalemated by that. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, so, I mean, I can put it in my life, and yeah, so I'm really eager to hear how you do this and how you get this third option and that it's a win-win. Certainly for you guys to work it out, but I mean, from a learning point that it's a win-win, because I don't know how I could do that. So I'm open to learn.
Me either. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Kay, that'll be my my accountability for next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Utilize Indian walking stick.
Okay.
I will
Wait,
use
what
that with Jenny.
How do you want me to word it?
You can say Indian walking stick with Jenny.
Okay. Can you, for your retreats, is that just your EO group? No one else could go, so like Jenny couldn't come with you? Hmm.
No.
And plus,
I'm comfortable we'll find something. It's just I don't know what that is yet. It's cool. Like I think once once we talk about it a lot, like I'll get to hopefully we can kind of uncover what's at the root of kind of her uncomfortableness, so to speak.
but wait a minute. You're going on the premise that she's got the problem.
No, he just can't figure, or
I just don't understand it yet.
Yeah, he just doesn't understand.
I mean, like, I see what you mean, Kathy, because, like, in the back of my head, yeah, I think it is her problem. But, like, theoretically, like, I'm, like, let me make sure I try to understand it as best I can and see how we can come up with a way to kind of make it all work.
Because his only alternative is to not understand and not be able to go. And that's just losing completely on his part.
Right. It'd be a loss either way, one way or the other.
What?
It'd be a loss, you know what I mean? Like, either if I A, don't go, or B, you know, like,
or you go,
or B, I go and she feels misunderstood and, like, that she wasn't valued.
Yeah.
Both of those are, to me, worse than the alternative of at least trying to understand what's going on.
Then it's a good way to kind of build the relationship a little better too.
Right.
Maybe.
Like I'll let you know. I'll see. We'll see how it all works out. Who knows? Could be a much ado about nothing.
Well, listen, but you know what's good about it? I mean, there's like two parts. The A part is you and Jenny. The B part is all of us on the call. So learning from how
Mm-hmm.
this worked, yeah, because I need to learn this one.
I can't tell you that I'll do it perfectly. I usually don't the first 2 times, but I'm willing
No,
to fail.
I'm just talking about the resolution that two people can have. This seems extremely difficult to me, and that the two of you, I mean, I'm really eager to learn how you resolve it. You know, I mean, it's easy to say, okay, pound sand, I'm going. If you don't like it, too bad, and we'll kiss and make up when we get home. Blah blah blah. Whatever the pattern is. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But knowing what I went through today before the call, it was not easy. I wouldn't say, oh wow, model us at all. So I'm really saying that in a sincere way. I really want to learn from this.
I'm hopefully Jenny's not angry that I've shared it, but I'll keep you
Well, I'm not.
tuned.
I won't say
'Cause I'm,
anything.
for the same reason of like a lot of my like values in general, like why do I want to be in an EO forum and that kind of thing. Like I'm extremely growth centered. Like I like to grow. I like to have it to where like we learn things. We you know like
Mm-hmm.
we're constantly pushing forward. We're constantly trying to kind of improve what we're trying to do. Like I'm a maximizer too. My third strength. Like I maximize too. That's what we try to do all the time. Trying to make things better. So if what I do can in any way help you guys, that's
Mm-hmm.
more important to me than, you know, like not being open, vulnerable, able to be like, yeah, I don't know how to do this. This is what I did. It either did or didn't work. I don't know yet. Very well may not work. Could blow up really big. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But throw it out there. We'll work it out. We'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Dad,
And
oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, and that is so your core value. One of your core values is the importance of growth and maximizing and constant, never-ending improvement, and whatever it takes to do that. And that's who you are. And so it's important to honor that too.
Yep. So we'll just we'll work it out.
Okay.
So anything else anybody has with Covey? I feel like I've taken up a lot of everybody's time on that one.
No, I don't think so. Dad, have you ever had an experience that you could relate with this on the walking stick? Sometime where you kind of used that kind of practice and it has or hasn't worked out so well?
Nope.
You just usually understand people?
Never any disagreements.
That's it. I like it. Nothing to talk about, right, John? That's it.
That's why I spend so much time, guys, down at Habit 1, 2, and 3, because I don't think I've graduated up to 4, 5, and 6 all that well yet.
Mm.
There'll be good things here and there, but my worst habit is seeking first to understand, then to be understood. Easily the worst.
I think that's possibly human nature, to say I and me and to tell people about yourself rather than to listen. I think it's just tough for everyone.
It is. But
Okay, I feel like if you had to have like this conversation with, I mean, anyone with a misunderstanding with like the walking stick or whatever, going back to like third grade health class, like when they talked about like you statements and I statements, and like constantly saying like, well, you don't want me to go, like Fritz's case, like you don't want me to go because you think this. or like it's just that's so much easier to say than just like have to think and be like, I really would like to go to this because it's really important for me, so I'd like to try to understand what I can do in order for me to go, or something like that. Is it really? I don't know I don't know where I was going with this. Never mind.
Are you saying that it's sometimes tell someone that you'd like to understand it?
I don't know. I really completely lost this train of thought. I was going somewhere with it. It's so much easier just to blame it on the other person instead of try to get it for yourself. And I had a question. I just forgot the question.
It'd be 100 times easier if I were to just say, Jenny's crazy, forget it, I don't give a shit, I'm going anyway.
Right.
That'd be really easy.
Yeah. And that's interesting because I think that'd be easy for you, but she couldn't do that to you. She couldn't say, Fritz is just out, like, Fritz just doesn't understand, I'm going. She'd never do that. That's just not something she'd be okay with.
See? Empathy, harmony. Me, no empathy, no harmony.
Yep. You have to work on those things in order to actually...
I'd stir shit up just to make it happen. Much like I think my dad does. I'm not sure.
Look at that face.
You learned it well, Fritz.
It comes honest.
I understand how it'd be so hard for Jenny, because I mean it'd be so hard for me to just say that to somebody. Cause, like I could say it, like it'd be easy just to say it, but to actually go through with it and to not concentrate on it the entire time you were gone, like I'd like
that would wear you out.
It'd be horrible. Like it'd be so much better for me to just not go than to go and not even care about the other person.
Yep.
But that's just me. So.
Right, and Fritz is kind of taking the approach that he wants to value that part of Jenny. He loves that part of Jenny, so he's going to take the time to do something that's not necessarily one of his strengths so that he can have a stronger relationship.
Because I can
okay,
tell
well,
you,
this is important to you.
I can tell you, Kay, it would be much easier and much more probably congruent with my history to just be like, listen, we'll work on your issues later. Like, I'm going to go on this, and then let's put that on the list, and we'll work on that issue that you have. And nobody really wants to hear that.
No.
No.
To quote a mad black woman, oh hell no.
So the nice thing is, Jenny's empathy is rubbing off on me because at least I recognize that now.
Yep.
At least I recognize that she would likely not respond to that well, and likely nobody would respond to that very well. But my care-o-meter went from down here to now about right there. So it's getting there on the care-o-meter.
Progress.
So the care-o-meter is, it's getting there.
And this is why we love Jenny in our family, because she brings out the best in Fritz.
And that's good.
And she helps out the things he's not so good at. But
She was so proud of me this last week. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
I got a hold of Dad, and I was like, Dad, did you get Dina a birthday present?
That was good.
Dad was like,
I saw that necklace.
Huh? What do you mean?
Birthday present, what?
I've learned from Jenny that that's important, and that you should remember that. and you should do something about that. And that was without even her prompting.
Yeah. So you got her the same birthday present you got. Is that how that worked?
No. Then I had Jenny help to work it out with Dad as to what he should get Dina.
Okay.
Then I became resourceful right after I realized that Dad needed help. Because that's another one of my core values, to be very resourceful.
Yeah. She said, she goes, "Did you get me anything for my birthday?" Dad was like, "What? What? Huh?" And then there was an Amazon box. And then she opened it. She was like, and then later on I came back into the house and she was like, petting her pearl necklace. She's like, "Yeah, he got me something." She's like, "He's learning."
See how easy that is.
What do you think, Dad?
Happy wife, happy life.
There you go. I like that. Okay.
Oh, dear. All right. Anybody else with
John, you
anything?
better straighten out these kids.
Okay, you want to go through our accountabilities?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, last week. 4 times workout? Guessing after the...
If you consider trying to get out of bed when your body aches like the devil a workout, which it truly was, then yes. But if you're talking about a workout on the elliptical, no. I don't even remember what day I had that joyous ride, but it was very early in the week, and my whole body has not allowed me to do much since.
What day was it? Do you guys
Wednesday.
Monday?
Wednesday.
Okay. Does my mother know about this?
No, probably not.
Probably not.
I had to ask for about 10 minutes just to figure out that it actually happened. Well, for some reason, Walt fell off my
It was
thing
not
here.
one of my...
Walt
Yeah.
fell off the wagon.
Walt fell off. I'm not sure where he is there, but Kay, 77,000. Good job, Kay. That's a good week. You wanted 10,000 steps a day? You got over 11,000 a day. Boom.
What? 11,000 today? You do?
You had 11,000 per day this last week.
Per day.
Oh, yeah. I had 17,000 yesterday. Because Mom decided to wake us all up at 7:30 in the morning to go take a 3.2-mile hike.
Yeah.
Good.
I know she really, really missed her one this week. She couldn't find any friends to go with her, so I'm glad you were there for her, Kay. Because she called me kind of bummed that she couldn't make her hike today or this week. Way to go, Kay.
Good job, Kay. Strong work.
So after we took that lovely hike, I had homecoming, which was a 3-hour dance, which is why I had like 17,000 steps. Plus, my Fitbit stopped working like at the end of the dance because it ran out of battery for some reason.
It was tired. It was tired of all your walking.
I probably had more than that, but whatever. Okay.
Here's Walt. Somehow he popped back up. Look at the Waltonator.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
111,000.
What does he do?
Basketball, he runs around.
Not as much as Lisa.
He'll get home and he'll be like, I'm gonna go run around the neighborhood like 5 times. I'm like, the wall.
Is Walt there? Can you yell for him?
Yeah.
Because I need to taunt him for being number 2.
I'll have to take you for your word. Number
2. Walt loves a little competition. And so does Lisa, too. She's been dying for it for a real long time.
Yeah.
And Lisa's always doubled us. So, like, there's been nobody even close.
Walter, that's one of his strengths, right? Competitive.
I think it's in his top 5. Yeah, he's an
Yeah,
arranger, and I think he likes competition. Competition's in the top 5, too. Anyway.
Yep, arranger competition.
Clean eating and working out 7 times, so I'm good. Hey, Walt. Hey, buddy, I got something to show you. I'm not sure if you see this real well, but you're number 2.
It says Lisa's got you beat, buddy.
Walt,
What is this number
girl.
2 stuff?
111. You remember her, right? You remember from Costa Rica? Yeah, she's a girl. Just wanted to make sure you remembered, like, she was a girl.
She's a girl. Walter.
Such a bitch.
And she's like almost as old as your mom. Like, seriously. Oh no, you guys froze. KK, you're frozen. What happened? Uh-huh.
And did you get your to-do list done?
Hey, yeah, I definitely did. I had a to-do list that was crazy, but I just knocked it out of the park, man. I got so much work done this week. It was ridiculous. So, I'm ready for another good week. Only this week is a lot more like hands-on type stuff, getting places ready for people, because as you know, we had a lot of houses for rent, and I got a lot of them rented last week, and they're going to move in October 1st, which is this Wednesday. So I kind of got them figured out when people are actually going to move in so that I can do the little fix-ups that need to be done. So this week is going to be total maintenance, gung-ho. We're going to knock those places out of the park. So got another really good week ahead of us.
What do you want for your
Yeah,
accountability
that
this week?
Oh, I'm going to run every day. It's about time. I got November 15th is the race. So I'm just going to do a little jog every day and
Okay.
see kind of how if I can make that part of my everyday routine.
Okay. Good
So
deal.
I'm going to try to make it a habit.
Dad, what would you like on yours?
I'm going to put green drink down for every day. I have been noticing that Dina and DJ are eating more meat these days. So I'm trying to get them back. Plus the fact that Lonavine and Lucille both have made me a vegetable soup. So I can have it one meal and a green drink another. But I plan on having more vegetables in my diet. So.
Okay. That's awesome.
And I am
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay.
So a green drink a day, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yep. I like them.
Yeah.
Hey, Caroline, are you there?
Says Mary Eisenberg offline. So she must
Oh,
be
yeah, it
out.
says offline. Okay. And then Kathy. Did we lose Kathy too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
Hey
if they
guys.
pop back on. Yeah, let's press at the end of ours for us in case anybody else pops back on while we're still here.